And we're live. Welcome to Gathering of Branches. Tonight we're going to continue our look at the character Aeronwy, our final introduction before we begin the series next week. Aeronwy is our crossover character from our linked game, the Great Pendragon campaign. So Aeronwy has had an opportunity to join us already in one session. So we're going to be looking at some of that, the aftermath of the battle that she took place in, as her and the small retinue of survivors from Summerland return home.
Me and Kevin, that one guy who lived.
Yeah. We, of course, aren't going to go with Kevin as the name.
There's a historical version of the name. It is Kewin.
Yep. But I'm also not going to do that. So the retinue that Aeronwy is riding home with, riding into Bath, and then down from Bath down to your home in the mountains, basically. This is the county of Summerland. So you're currently traveling just past Bath. Your retinue contains a mercenary knight. You know him by name, even though the name isn't working there. And his name is Sir Governan. Sounds like governor, and I'm sure someone's going to say that. So let me just spell it for you.
Governon. Okay.
And of course, there's a squire with you.
This kid.
He's returning home with his knight shield. He's the survivor of it. So this is actually set before this scene here is set before our other introductions. Effectively.
All right. I think since Aeronwy is in quite a similar situation to Gwydion, she's probably going to be keeping a little close to him. She's also coming back with her dead knight's shield.
As you pass through Bath, it's midsummer kind of thing, nearing late summer. Why don't you give me a fairy lore test or folklore? Because you kind of came through the north rather than through the forest road. I want to see what you might know about that. You can test either, and I'll give you a +5 to the roll as a modifier. This is your homeland, after all.
I'm going to be choosing folklore because that's at 5, as opposed to my fairy lore, which is a 2.
Hey, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was actually Governan who requested that you don't go through the forest, that you take the north into Summerland. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, and please tick folklore because you'll be raising it.
Oh yeah.
You know beyond a shadow of a doubt that people do not come safely from the east through the forest glamour. That is commonly the forest that the way they refer to the forest glamour in Summerland. But it's known as the forest gloom when entered from the other side, from the east. There's a lot of superstition around it. A lot of I guess especially that superstition's risen since the invasion from the county of Salisbury when they invaded a couple of years ago. They definitely caused some anger, not only among the regular folk of Summerland, but also the fae folk of Summerland. So, in general, not a very safe thing to do, to travel through the forest. aside from the usual, bandits and random things you might encounter, on top of that, we've got some very angry fairy folk scattered throughout Summerland. So
We really don't want to mess with that.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, so you've chosen to bypass that route and not risk it.
Okay, so we're gonna be moving kind of like north and around the forest gloom.
Yeah. You'll be coming in effectively. Let me see if I can show you this. So, no one will be able to see this, I just realized. But you're coming from the north, and kind of rather than going in from in through Salisbury or in through Gentian, you'll be going in through Clarence and Glevum area, like staying wide of the forest border.
Good idea.
All right. So back to the map here. All right. So about half, it's only a few days ride. Like it's actually rather small when you're riding horse through this. Is simple travel. Maybe we'll zoom in on Gwydion and Aeronwy and folk as you start to near Gwydion's manor, where he'll be setting off. So Gwydion, his manor, the manor of his former knight, is actually really close to Bath.
All right. I think as they're riding, Aeronwy is going to kind of ride up next to him and ask, "So, what do you plan to do now that your knight's gone?"
It's like he's just thought about that for the first time now. He said, "Well,
sorry, Gwydion."
well, I got his shield, and I gotta give it back to his wife and Olwen."
Is that his daughter?
Niece.
That sounds like it's going to be a very hard job.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like he's just realizing it for the first time.
Oh, buddy, I'm sorry. Well, it weren't your fault. It was the Saxons. So, you just have to bear the bad news, I guess.
Yeah. I just have to tell him what happened. Yeah.
Exactly. And do you know any other knights that you could squire for?
He's like thinking through his head. The only other knights I knew. He looks at Governon, and Sir Governon says, "I have no place for a squire, not as a mercenary knight." And then he just hangs his head. No.
Oh.
No, I don't know. But I can go home. Maybe father has something for me or knows someone. When he mentions his father, is sort of like this. You can tell he almost seems to, he has a look like he's almost more afraid of his father or afraid of his father's response or reaction than the task immediately before him, right? Which is...
Oh. Well, I'm sure your father will know someone. Your home, your father is around Bath, or just your knight's family?
I'm closer to Wells, actually. Down south. but I have to stop here first. And then once I've delivered the news, I'll go back home.
Well, if you need a traveling companion closer to home, I'm on the other side of Mendip Hills. We could make a stop at my village, and you can go the rest of the way if you'd like.
He looks at you both a moment and says, I should probably stay at my former master's place as long as they'll have me help them see that his things are in order.
That's good of you.
I wouldn't want to keep you both.
I'm sure they'll appreciate it, and I should probably get the shield back to my knight's family too.
Oh,
If
right.
you...
I hope that goes well for you as well.
I hope it does too. I didn't know them well. If you ever find yourself in the area, I'm sure my family would be happy to host you. We don't have a fancy manor, but we have enough.
I would like that. He says, well, thank you again.
And to you.
Governon kind of remains silent, just gives him a strong nod. It's about as much as he's willing to offer in the way of emotion.
What a guy!
Is there anything you wanted to do before we kind of move ahead?
Probably not. I don't have anything going on in Bath. Where's Governon heading? Are we going the whole way together, or is he peeling off to head to Bristol or something?
You haven't actually discussed that part yet.
Oh.
The two of you, yeah.
Well, then maybe when Gwydion leaves us, Aeronwy will ask him, where are you heading?
Well, I'd like to return with you. Sir Derwin was an important knight here in Summerland. I think it's only important that his lord be made aware by another knight of his death. If it is not too much burden for you, I will of course speak highly of your prowess, as well. It's not every day that you see a squire fight as you did on the field.
Thank you, sir. I feel that it was helped along by the efforts of the people around me and the prince.
Yes. Did you see him too?
Yes, he found me when I was unhorsed, when Sir Derwin died, and he told me to pick up his shield and follow after him.
Okay.
We spoke.
I remember that. He just shakes his head, kind of like in disbelief. It seemed surreal, I suppose. Otherworldly. And he wasn't there, though, right?
What do you mean he wasn't there?
Well,
I saw him.
I did too. But then interesting. Apologies if anyone hit ads on that. I'm not sure why it should be turned off. It was previously.
Oh.
Interesting. Okay. They weren't supposed to be on. Anyways, we've only got an hour, so we shouldn't see them again. Okay. So he says you're right, he was there. It's just it's just that he wasn't though, right?
I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, I didn't see him after the battle, but I assumed he just retreated when the retreat was sounded. That's why I turned around.
Oh, okay. He sounds unconvinced, but not really.
How could he be not there?
Yeah, he doesn't offer a counter to it. He has no counter to offer.
Yeah, obviously I'm right, Governor. I saw him. Well then, I guess we head home.
All right.
Am I being just kind of ditched at home while he delivers the shield, or is he kind of like accompanying me and doing the talking?
Roll me a trusting versus suspicious.
All right, let's see. Oh, half and half, baby. Okay, not off to a good start.
All right. Yeah.
What does that give me?
I think this would. So I'll give you a little kind of. This is something I do with Pendragon a little bit. If you want to respond in a way where you don't really kind of trust his motives here, you may absolutely do so since you passed it, but you will be ticking suspicious for doing so.
Okay, and if I don't respond as if I don't trust his motives,
then you won't have to tick suspicious.
Okay.
But you may not glean extra information.
Okay. See, like.
So effectively, as you start to arrive into town, he does say, "I'll give you this part of it, right? Like this will make more sense as to what I'm leading into." He says, you start to pull in. You see your home ahead. You see your little mountain commoner town right beside the manor that is the Barrowcrest Manor on the hillside, and the Barrow Vale, the valley beneath it. He says, "I'd like to thank you again for accompanying me. I know this shield is important to you, so you ought to keep it. I'll make sure that your lord is notified, and perhaps one of his knights will retrieve it."
If it's all right with you, would I be able to accompany you? It feels wrong to just go home and not tell them. I was the one that saw him fall.
I'm sure you have catching up to do. You spoke of your family on the way. So this is where the suspicious trusting role comes in.
This is where I don't know how I feel about that pushback. You're right. He is suspicious. I do. I miss my family greatly, but I should do my duty first. I think it's what's right.
So, okay. So you are staying with the other method. He nods and he says, "I'll return soon with news, or perhaps your lord, one of his knights may. Very well."
Okay, so he's digging his heels in too, yes?
This might be Bob kind of not understanding what you just previously said. So maybe just reiterate for me, like what was your
Okay.
intentions from the last piece? I thought you were stating that you were comfortable with seeing your family, but you probably stated something I didn't quite catch properly there. So
Right. She said that she does miss her family a lot, and also she should go and see Derwin's family first because it would be the right thing to do, and she doesn't feel comfortable going and seeing her family before she's done her duty, essentially.
all right. What is you please test courtesy for me.
Oh no. This is 2. Alright. Shockingly, it's a failure.
Well, that wasn't actually that was close. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, closer than it could have been.
He doesn't seem entirely swayed, and he says, "Are you stating that you would like to come along, Aeronwy?
I would, sir.
I understand. I won't keep you from it then."
Thank you, sir. Cha-ching! Yes! I've got you now, governor.
All right. I don't know. Let's just see. I'm noticing your camera's getting a little delayed, like with the voices. Yeah. I'm okay with the granularity part, but I'm just thinking that your lips are out of sync.
Should I try leaving and coming back?
Maybe just briefly. Let's see what it does.
Okay. Let us... How's it looking?
Good. I did it. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
I was you.
Good.
No, just kidding.
Unfortunate job of telling people their guy's dead.
All right, on to the scene. So, I'm wondering what you even know about your lord. Did we test anything about this before? I feel like we might have.
We know that my dad squired for him, but he was one of the squires that I think because he wasn't nobility, he was never really able to reach knighthood. So that's how I know Derwin.
Yeah.
But I don't really know if we've learned much about the rest of his family. I think that would be up to DM discretion.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting if you didn't, because I'm not sure the commoners are always up into the affairs of other lords and ladies, right? But considering your injuries and your wounds, you might. So I am curious to see about this. What would be good here? Do you have do you have a loyalty something or other? On your sheet?
I believe I do. I have loyalty lord, and it is only a 9.
Okay. Well, it's still
don't
possible.
care about my lord much apparently.
We're gonna test it as if it were a trait. So this isn't to invoke it. This is just to test it.
Critical loyalty lord, baby.
Hey, you very distinctly know. So, and you can tell that Governon doesn't.
He needs me here, actually.
So, the key thing to note here is that during the invasion in Summerland, the Lord was critically wounded, and the gossip is that his lady has been running the manor with him, and he's either dead or like in the equivalent of a forever sleep, like a coma equivalent. Because you have that critical, that's what I'm gonna give you there.
Okay. And household knights are important to like noble houses, right?
Oh yeah, like they would. They effectively protect your land. They can run justice within the commoners of your land. All those pieces.
Was Derwin their only one?
No, there
Oh,
were
thank goodness. Okay.
others, but all of them died in the last battle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So still bad.
still bad. Yeah. Keep in mind, you only came back with like a handful of folk. Most of them squires, and that was reflected through that scene with the others. So, yeah.
Hey. Okay, so I'm still delivering like catastrophically bad news.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially.
Yay!
All right, so
You know what, Guffin? You take it from here. I don't want to do this actually. Bye.
right, like on second thought,
On second thought, I've just got a critical loyalty lord. I know a lot more about the situation now. This sucks. Bye.
yeah. Okay, so as you kind of climb the manor, I don't think we've ever tested your knowledge on. I'm gonna give you another folk or fairy lore.
Okay.
This one can be folk or fairy again, same idea. You'll get a +5 to it because it is literally your home.
Well, I failed that one.
Okay.
Just barely, though.
Yeah, you know there's always been a lot of strange things that have been talked about here. But as far as like, what is your spiritual? We should probably check that, because if you have a high spiritual, then that might affect your view.
10/10.
Yeah, so you're not incredibly superstitious, and you probably attribute those things to people being overly superstitious. Like, Summerland County does believe in fairy, but to attribute every bad thing that happens here to fairy is kind of ridiculous.
That's kind of silly. Right. Sometimes it's just weird stuff happening.
Yeah, sometimes it's just bad luck, those things.
Bandits they didn't catch, like, there's a bunch of different explanations, guys.
So you arrive at the on horse. You and Governon arrive at the manor, which it continues to elude me as far as the name. Barrowcrest Manor. Thank you.
Barrowcrest Manor.
You see at the beside it there is a tree, and as it starts to near late summer, it seems like one side of it seems to shine, like almost being like that forever green state, where the other one's starting to react to the change in season. The other side of it's starting to react to the change in season.
That's weird. Maybe there's a reasonable explanation for it.
Yeah, it doesn't look particularly strange in summer, but so a little bit. You've never been this close to the manor. In fact, you've probably spent like your childhood looking up at the hill and make believe in games and pretending that you were, the lord of this manor. So it's very surreal to all of a sudden be about to be entering it.
Yeah, she's kind of like looking around and like trying to like drink in as many details as she can, because she's gotta come back and tell her siblings about this.
You see no help up here. None. There's no butler, no handmaids. Maybe a few commoners tending the fields, but they would be from your hometown. And that's it. It's very eerie as you approach.
Well, that's a little weird. There's probably a reasonable explanation for this.
It's the motto of our session.
That's not normal. Not gonna let it ruin my day.
Yeah. All right, so as you approach the door, Governon looks to you and says, I don't see the Lord's servants or any of his retinue. How odd.
This unusual. I thought you might be familiar with the manor.
No, I'm not.
I suppose if there's something wrong, we should go in and help, and if there isn't something wrong, then we could just not.
Right. He nods. He's a brave knight, right? Like he fought very bravely, so he does kind of look about and takes a step forward and knocks. There's just a loud, echoed knock, and you are alerted by a lady's voice. Please enter.
Oh my gosh, is it Dallin's girlfriend? All right, well then, the doors don't open. We gotta do this ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Let's open these doors, baby.
All right. You find yourself in the manor. The lady of the house stands before you very clearly. She has long dark hair and a look of both grace and sort of confidence in her. There's not a lot of hesitation. There's not any sort of malice or mistrust in her face. She looks at the two of you almost like it doesn't surprise her.
Oh, Lady Gwynedd, hello. Aeronwy will bow curtsy. Ow. This is a thing that is a little bit unclear for her as well.
Perfect.
I understand that I'm a girl. I'm here in the capacity of a squire. What's the...
Right. Yep. You want to test courtesy to see how awful it is? Let's do that. Because if it's a fumble, you really embarrass yourself here.
Great.
Nope, just a failure.
It's just a regular failure.
Yeah. So nothing, you do what you explained. What do I do? Right?
It's just a very uncertain, curtsy bow of, I don't know what I'm doing.
So as she welcomes you, Sir Governor says, "Milady, sorry to intrude. We're here to see the Lord of the Manor. We bring ill tidings, news of outcomes of war. Best not suited for a lady's ears." She says, "I will hear it nonetheless. Forgive me. I know both of your faces, but not your names." He just kind of screws up his eye and looks at you, and then looks back at her. "I'm Sir Governor, a lady."
And I'm Aeronwy. I was the squire that Sir Derwin took with him.
She nods. "I thought that might be the case. I dreamed that the two of you were coming, but I didn't understand what it meant."
You dreamed that we were coming?
"I did." And Sir Governor just continues to look at you with a what the hell kind of look on his face.
Well, I'm sure there's a rational explanation, Lord Governor. Roll with it. Well, milady, we come to report that Sir Derwin fell in the battle. We have his shield here as proof.
She's kind of fighting back in her chakra. You can tell that
sorry,
her
man.
lip twitches a bit. She nods and says, Then I am alone. Then the other knights, my household retinue, the rest of them, none return. Just you two.
Just us. I'm sorry, my lady.
Okay. She starts to kind of pace a little bit and then collects herself, takes in a deep breath. I need to think about what to do next. And with that, Sir Governon takes the opportunity and steps forward and says, "Lady, I would be happy to pledge myself to you. If you are in need of a household knight, then please consider me." And she stops and says, "I'm sorry, good sir, but you may not.
Ooh.
These lands require a particular type of knight. And I'm afraid that you may not very well suit that." And he just looks to you and then looks back and says, "But my lady, I'm as brave as they come. I'm very loyal to King Cadwy and Summerland. It is true that I'm just a mercenary knight, but I was once a vassal before the Knights of Salisbury took my lands." She shakes her head and says, "You may stay in the town if you wish, but you may not join my retinue here. It is far too dangerous. There are agreements in order long ago that must be fulfilled. I'm sorry, Sir Knight."
What sort of knights would you need, my lady?
She has this hesitant look on her face. You can test intrigue.
Yeah, I certainly can. It's a failure, Bob.
You have 0. Okay.
I have 0 intrigue. I didn't give her anything with that.
No, it's good. You have no idea what the subtleties on her face mean. It's effectively what it is.
These nobles.
Yeah.
They do some wacky stuff with sometimes.
She says, "That is my lord husband's business. I'm afraid I can't speak to it. Not so publicly." Which you find weird because publicly it's the three of you in her empty, quiet manner.
Yeah. And also, it's weird that it's her lord's purview and the man might be dead. But yeah, that's not my business. So she'll just say, "I see. I apologize for asking."
No apology required. If Sir Derwin saw you as, well, someone who he would take on as his squire, then you must show promise and caliber. With that, you see the gears kind of kick into the head of Sir Governon, and he says, "Perhaps, my lady, if you would allow me to stay, I could continue Aeronwy's training. She was fierce in battle, and she is quick to become of age. If she were to undergo the proper training, she could become a knight, and perhaps one more suited to you." She does stop and consider that. She says, "As you've said, you are just a mercenary knight, and I will not tell you where you may dwell, though it may not be here. If you wish to stay and look after the training of Aeronwy, I won't stop you. And he looks to you. He says, well then, it's all but settled. And then she cuts him off and says, if Aeronwy agrees, of course.
I'm going to test something on my own here.
Yeah.
Because this is weird. This is a little weird. He just said he didn't want a squire. This isn't going to affect her answer, because, oh my god, you do not know how badly she wants to be knighted. You don't know how bad she wants this. Right. However, we're going to roll trusting and suspicious anyways.
So failure in both.
Failed.
In the past, what we've done is it kind of then becomes your, like, the dice are not dictating anything for you, which means it's not super strong. You might be 50-50 in the middle, but you can decide the outcome.
I think that at this moment she's very much thinking, like, that's strange that he turned down Gwydion, but is now trying real hard to stay here suddenly. That's odd. And then she puts a pin in it and goes, I want to be a knight so bad. And then she says, yes, I would like that very much, actually. Thank you.
He nods, and she offers like a half smile and says, very well, then consider it done. You may stay in the town if you wish, or take Aeronwy with you, whatever must be done. He nods and says, this place will do well. It's best to be around and in service. She nods and says, as you say, Sir Knight.
Got my eyes on this guy. I'm watching him. This is weird. Are we dismissed from her presence?
She nods and says, I'll take the shield.
Of course, ma'am. And she will hand her the shield. God damn it. Wanted that thing.
Right. I bet you do. So with that, I guess the two of you begin to walk out.
All right. I would like to test prudent and reckless before I ask something a little stupid. Okay, cool. We've really done it now. I think because prudent is closer to being a success, I'm going to not ask him why he's acting so weird. Maybe we'll find that out later.
Okay.
Do we have an inn in town that I could, like, point him to?
Not particularly, no. This probably means trying to find him some space in your or one of your neighbors' homes.
Oh, we have a roommate now. This is great.
Yeah, right.
Let's hope this guy is not shady, at least.
Really
Aeronwy will. Yeah. Aeronwy will lead him back home and say, we might have room here, or some of the neighbors might have room for you.
This should do. He looks, you can tell there's like a frown a little bit as he looks at the commoner's house. But he's courteous in his words nonetheless. He says, this will do quite well. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I should probably...
You should... I'm sure your family like to see you. I'm going to go for a walk. I'll be back soon.
Can I roll suspicious again?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What in the world? Okay, I think I forgot to tick suspicious the first time, but look. I think I've earned ticking suspicious at this point.
All right. I'm comfortable with
That's
that.
a success and a fumble on trusting. What's this dude doing?
Yeah, so the fumble on trusting, you've lost any sort of like confidence now, I think, ongoing. You know what this is gonna result in? Give me a D6. Give me a D6 roll.
Oh, spaghetti. Oh, I'm on.
Okay. 4. You can add a 4 directed trait for a suspicious governor. Sir Governor.
Wow, I've got suspicious Salisbury folks, suspicious governor, a
Yeah.
suspicious young lady.
You're gonna be a famous. Your title will be the suspicious.
Okay, so that's 14. 10 plus 4.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I need to get my intrigue up if I'm gonna keep this up. Okay. This man is doing something weird in the woods.
What does that mean for you then? What are you gonna do? So he goes to walk away. I think you're very clearly skeptical of him. But you've also got your family, the closest they've been in about a month and a bit.
Yeah, I really want to see my family, and I don't think there's anything too nuts he can get up to in the woods. So she definitely has already put pins in things of like, we'll wait and see on all of these. And I think this is another real big pin that we are putting in the situation of being like, I'm going to go talk to my family, and I'm going to watch this man like a hawk.
Okay. So starting with go talk to your family first, or starting with gonna try and creep on him?
Go talk to my family first. I think Aeronwy is not really confident in her ability to like sneak around on this guy, and if he catches her sneaking, she's not really confident she can take him one-on-one because he's like a full-fledged knight. So this is we are going to wait for him to slip up or give me a real good opportunity to like figure out what he's doing.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do something stupid. He knows where my family is. So we're just gonna clench his fists, chill for a bit. See my family.
All right. So as you go to enter the door, let me just make sure the names are on. Give me 1 second. It'll make it more entertaining. They aren't.
Yeah.
So give me 1 second. I just need to throw in the names here. Else it won't have them. Yeah. Please hold. It won't be long. 2 more names. 2 more names. One's good. So only 1 more name. As you kind of get to the door right away, all of a sudden the door flings open and you see your mom.
My mom!
And she looks at you and says, her eyes light up for half a second, and she says, "Oh," she's like, "Aeronwy, you're back." And then she quickly moves on. She says, she yells out, "Grifflet, time for dinner." And then she just goes back to being busy, almost like, you're almost like, oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed you too, Mom. All right.
But as she calls and then moves on, one of your sisters is standing there waiting for you. She's got a smile on her face. It is Flora.
Florrie!
She offers a smile and says, "You're back. How was it?" And
Don't tell Grifflet, but it was bloody. Not many of the knights survived. She kind of comes up and gives her a hug and is like, I'm happy to see you.
you know that she's ever the pragmatist, so the news doesn't seem to startle or shock her, and she says, I'm just glad you made it back okay.
I am too. I thought I wouldn't, but I'm here now. And I have a knight that's going to train me, but
Sir Derwin?
she kind of like lowers her voice. Sir Derwin died. But his name is Sir Governon. He's a mercenary knight, and I would be careful around him. I'm not sure what he's doing, but keep an eye on him.
Right. Okay. I can do that.
Okay. Obviously, I'll keep an eye on him too. Do you need help with dinner or anything else?
Actually, well, Mom asked me to wake Dad, if you could. It's like 5 o'clock. And, yeah.
Oh, Dad, taking a nap.
Yeah, your dad's health has never been the same since his maiming. He's never quite healed.
Since Maddox.
Yes, that's news to you. Since Prince Maddox maimed your father,
Yeah.
his health's never been the same.
What a fun thing to discover. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, we'll wake him up then.
You see him. He rolls over. Aeronwy, you're back?
I'm back.
So soon?
The entire company got ambushed. We had to retreat, and I've been sent back home.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you were in. Sir Derwin is a fierce knight. He always led me in the right direction.
She kind of gets a look on her face, oh, she doesn't want to say it, but okay. She kind of has to say it.
Hold on one sec before you do. Interesting. Okay, he passes.
He passes what?
He recognizes the look on your face. He says, "Oh my. Does Lady de Barrowcrest know yet?"
I went to tell her before I came back home. We've lost all of the household knights. I might be being considered to become one. Oh,
a knight?
A knight.
It's almost like he starts to get energy in his body at the mention of that, right?
Hey! Yeah. Someone's happy to see me. I'm not. My training isn't done. But one of the mercenary knights that survived, he came back with me, and she wouldn't take him as a knight, but he offered to train me until I came of age to be knighted.
Well, that is... I mean, you'll still need someone to sponsor you, to knight you himself, so... But this is good news. I was never afforded the opportunity, but perhaps you'll have the horse and the armor and the arms that you'll need to move beyond the role of esquire. I'm afraid to say that I never was able to do so.
I hope that I can make you proud, Dad.
You hear the door fling open. You're someone's moving quickly, and you hear someone kind of like slide by. And Griffith's like, he slides like past the door, kind of stops himself, and comes
just
running.
Immediately swoop him up.
Yeah, he comes barreling into your arms. Just for entertainment, make a dex roll.
Uh-oh. Wait, no. I dumped everything into Dex. Everything into my physical stats. We got this. We got this, gang. We fumbled it. This boy is going to the ground, baby. Yeah. Tossing him.
I think this is more like he hits you and you're trying to pick him up and you both just go crashing down right into like some of the furniture. The two of you go for a hard tumble on the floor.
Ow! You've gotten heavy!
Oh, ow. I thought you were okay. Stronger. You're back.
I'm back!
Yeah.
Did you know?
Did your knight win the battle?
I won the battle.
He looks pretty entertained by that.
Did you know? I saw the prince. The one with the green horse.
No. And he looks to...
Yes.
He looks to your dad, and your dad just... I mean...
Well, I had to tell you first.
What was he like? Did he win the battle? Was that... He beat the Saxons, right? They're the ones that are... They're trying to take our land, I heard. I always thought it was the Picts or the Irish, but... Anyways... Confused. Are they the same? It was the
Saxons this time.
Oh.
I think they're all different. I'm not sure if Aeronwy knows.
Yeah.
They've all got different names, so they must be different, right?
Right.
Right. Well, he had a big green horse, and he had the most beautiful hair. And he was practically glowing.
And his sword, he had a big sword, right?
Did he have a big sword, Bob?
He had a sword. It was glowy and fancy like the rest of them, but yeah.
The biggest sword. And it glowed like anything, like the sun.
I'd like to meet him one day. Do you know him?
I spoke to him, but I'm not sure if I can speak to him again. But if I do, I'll tell him you asked about him.
Okay. That would be great. He's kind of like all happy about it. He says, and who's that over there?
Is that my knight? Is he back?
Do you look over there?
Yeah.
He says, ha, made you look. And then he runs off.
Oh, this little guy. What a dude. Gonna turn back to Dad and say, Floria sent me to come get you for dinner.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna hold out a hand to help him up if he needs it.
Sure. Why don't you test either, do you have the surgery or... Do you have any points in surgery or first aid?
Where in the hell is surgery? Okay, I do have 10 in first aid.
Okay, perfect. Make that roll.
Okay. Success!
Okay. As you go you go to help your dad up, there's a bit of like a stench to him.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you feel he's more weak. He's definitely more frail, much more bony. It's harder to pull him up than it was when you left.
Cool. I think that thing's infected. We should probably fix that.
And that kind of knowledge is pretty advanced for this era, but you definitely know that smell incorporates bad things. I think that's what you would know. And
Okay, all right.
it's probably beyond the help of first aid. It's probably dealing in matters of treasury, which
I'll have to find on my
ladies
to figure out
are
if I
very
have
good
it.
at. And there aren't a lot of. It's not trained typically otherwise. So
Ladies, I've met one of those recently. I don't know if that's allowed to talk to her about, though. Well, gonna ask Dad. How long has your leg been like that?
Oh, it's fine, really. We should go eat. Your mother's waiting.
Oh, my dad's a liar. Cool.
No, he's just a dad. I'm fine. It's like your foot's falling off. No, it's okay.
It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Unless he had a cold, at which he would be on death's bed. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the end of the world.
Yeah, but because it's it's just probably got some major infection. It's no big deal. He's fine.
Yeah.
Also, you can take first aid for that, because it was was your vital test of your squire, one of your squire tests right now.
All right. I have first aid ticked, baby. Okay. All right. When we get to the table, is Elaine there?
She is. Yeah. She just smiles your way, as she's proper, and she's certainly grown up even in this month away. She's looking more and more the part of definitely the closest to a noble lady of the house, if you had one, which your mother back in the day was always renowned for having a lot of grace and courtesy and stuff too for a commoner.
For a commoner.
Yeah. So probably a score of 6 or 7.
That's my score. So they gotta at least be higher than me, baby.
Oh, really? You've been taught well. There you go. That's who you're taught from. You've hit her limit.
I've hit the limit. Appearance. My appearance is.
Oh, no. I meant her courtesy. Not her appearance is.
No.
But yeah, her courtesy was 7 or 8. So.
Wow, good for her. Very exciting.
And I think rather than me trying to role play interactions of 5 different members of your household, I think what's happening here is this is home for Aaron.
Yeah.
This is everything. You remember it. It's chaos. Your brother can't sit still. Your mom's telling him to be quiet every 2 seconds. Your sister Dane is a delight and very optimistic and gleeful. Your dad is sickly but able to still make people laugh, and spend a lot of off and on with him. And your mother just kind of manages everyone's chaos.
Yeah. It feels like home. Nice. Where's my knight?
All right. Yeah. So probably towards the end of dinner, that you hear a soft knock, and then the door opens slowly to your home.
Sir Governor, how was your walk?
It was well, thank you. I'm Sir Governor. Is this your home, sir?
Oh, he's talking to my dad. Fine.
Yeah. He nods. He says, "Yes, Sir Governor. I'm Tristan, a retired esquire. I served Sir Derwin." And Sir Governor says, "Is that so? An esquire? Interesting. Well, it seems you do come from prepared stock. It makes sense. Your daughter fought well on the battlefield." one might say that she fought the best I've ever seen a squire fight, and given the circumstances, though I must say that I've seen few squires have to be put in those sorts of circumstances, the ambush and all. But that's talk for another time, of course. And Derwin nods. Covenant says, "Well, I've been given permission, both by your daughter and by the lady of the manor, to train your daughter and to take her on as my squire and train her. Your daughter has suggested that perhaps I might stay here during the training, though if that is any challenge." And before that, your mother cuts him off and says, "Oh no, Sir Knight, you are more than welcome to stay here. Though I must admit we have very little to offer beyond good meals and a warm home." And you're playing in your mind, especially if you're suspicious. You're playing in your mind like that first look he gave of the home, but his response is exactly the opposite. It's filled with courtesy. He says, "A knight needs nothing else. It's very gracious of you."
Alright. This guy knows what to say, at least. She will move over and make space for him and say, "We have enough left if you'd like to eat something."
He looks at the food and smiles. It's been a while since you ate, and you know that he was running out of Libram on the way back. And he says, "Oh, that's most gracious of you." And he does sit down beside you, and he kind of rubs his hand over your brother's hair. Your brother kind of looks at him funny and says, "So, did you kill anybody?"
Is he asking me or Governon?
Governon.
Okay.
Governon nods and says, "Well, you're spry." And then he looks to your sisters and says, it's not suitable talk for the table, though I'd be happy to tell you the stories of my travels one day." And your brother just shakes his head and says, "Okay. What about you? Did you kill anybody?" He turns to you, Aeronwy.
Megan is trying to remember if she killed anyone. I think we killed someone. Certainly.
It sounds like your memory. It sounds like Aeronwy's memory of the flash flood of every single terrible thing that she had to all of a sudden inherit and take on in that scenario.
Yeah, there was a lot happening. You know what?
The javelin that pierced through Sir Derwin's neck and having his body fall on you and taking his place on the horse and following your prince that seemingly came out of nowhere into the battle, joining the Salisbury Knights and the prince who maimed your dad. In an effort.
Well, we didn't see the prince that maimed my dad much. He wasn't really doing anything. Because he's useless. You know what? I remember fighting Wotan's men, though. So we're just gonna say I killed one of those guys, whether or not that's true. We've lied to this child multiple times today already, and she's gonna say.
That's true. I won't make you tick it, because you probably don't remember one way or the other whether or not that was a kill or not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. Well, I killed one of the Saxons' most elite soldiers.
He looks to you and then looks to Sir Governor and says, "Is that true? Did she?" And he says, "Well, perhaps I didn't see directly, but we were close to the men of the Wotan. So it's possible."
He's earned half a point for that. Yeah. Thanks, bud.
And your brother seems impressed with that.
Doesn't lie to everyone. She just lies to her brother because it's fun stories for him.
Yeah, I get that. And with that, is there anything else you want to do with that particular scene?
I think we're good.
So, like, the meal will continue on, and as it comes to a close, Sir Gavinan has a moment with you, and he just says, we'll start bright and early then.
Of course. Where would you like to meet?
I found a field not far from here. We can start there. Come prepared with all your equipment.
Of course. I don't have much now that I've given the shield away, but I still have the sword.
Well, you'll be holding on to that for a while. It's not the tool of a squire.
All right. I'll see you in the morning then. And just to cover my bases, Flory is not the only one. Why is he here?
No, we were referring to him. I was just letting people know what we're talking about. Don't worry, he's not here.
The man's back to finish the job.
No. He has no reason to be here. You're good.
Okay, just to cover my bases, Flory is not the only one that I have told about, like, hi, keep an eye on this man. Basically, everyone but Grifflet, who I do not trust to keep his mouth shut, has kind of been, like, tipped off, like, by the way, I'm getting a weird vibe from this guy. I really, really want to be a knight, but also, be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Dad might even be asked for, like, any insight he might have on why this guy might want to be hanging around Barrow Vale.
Do you want to have that conversation real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Why don't you pose, like, the question? So it's kind of like you and your dad, you get a moment towards the end of the night.
Yeah, I think they're probably, like, you know, Aeronwy is offered to help with dishes, just because she likes to at least try and help out, with the tasks that usually fall to Flory and Mom, and she can, and she says, Dad, I'm wondering if there would be a reason for Sir Gavinan to want to stick around Barrow Vale. When we were on our way back, he refused to take another squire, but when it seemed like the only reason that the Lady of Barrow Keep would keep him here was if he was training me, he seemed to suddenly be very interested in the idea of a squire. Do you have any idea why that might be?
There would be a few things, my dear, to consider. A mercenary knight without a home, for starters, will starve in the winter. They require the fees of their mercenary duties to be successful, and if he is attempted to pledge himself, I assume that the lady has not taken him on.
She hasn't. She said that a certain kind of knight was needed, and he wasn't one of them.
Yes, the protocol. Sir Derwin used to speak of it. I'm not aware. It has something to do with a bargain that was struck long ago. The lord of the house before his accident, before the raids.
I see.
He was particular about his knights.
But you don't know what makes them special or suitable?
No.
I see.
As far as his interests, perhaps the Barrow Vale Do you remember those stories I told you about it?
I assume that I do, even if Megan doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead and test, like, folklore with +5.
Folklore with +5. That's a failure.
It's
Sorry,
okay.
Dad, I didn't pay attention.
You remember, like, the high points. You remember mentions of like those same things that we were talking about, the superstitions and the fairy folk that apparently live around every corner, you know.
Yeah, so she'll, like, recite off the, like, you told me about the fairies and other things, I guess. What does that have to do with this?
Well, a knight of any sort seeks glory through one means or another. Felling a giant or a redcap, a boggin, a goblin, the goblin knight himself would be a noteworthy endeavor for a knight. Perhaps one that would mean finding a true home.
So, you think that there's nothing really amiss here? He just lost his home and needs a new one.
I'm not saying that. You would know better than I. You traveled with the man. I just think that there might be, well, practical reasons.
She kind of takes a deep breath and says, I will try to look on his actions with a little more grace then. Thank you. It does make a little more sense now that you've explained it.
So we're gonna move to the next scene. This is kind of the last scene, and then we're gonna do a little bit of a closing cliffhanger piece. So this last scene, you arrive in the field the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Governor is there. I really wish I chose a different name because I'm just saying Governor in my head every time I say that.
All right, Governor.
Governor, yeah.
Governor, I'm ready to start training.
Yeah. And also, I wanted to use one tool to generate his face, and I got stuck having to use the other because the tool I wanted to use was down, and I was very sad about that. Which is part of my technical difficulties, but only part of the reason why we were behind. So anyways, back to the scene. You arrive in the field. He's there and waiting. We're actually kind of not surprised by that. He's pretty punctual. I think on the travel home, he was definitely, we'll say he was fairly one-dimensional, but the one-dimensional would fit like the archetype of a knight very well.
Okay. Yeah. He's a very, like, cookie-cutter knight.
Mm-hmm. At least in the ways that Summerland likes its knights. So Summerland is a little bit more closer to an Arthurian take than the rest of the Age of Uther is. They, because of their links to the fairy and the Fae Knights and everything that happens around them, and the fact they have a magician king, they're just not quite in that Age of Uther that everyone else is. They're kind of a little ahead, not in like weapons or armor or anything, but just in a sense of
narrative vibe,
chivalry, I guess that's what I'm looking for. Their sense of chivalry is closer. Chivalry as a bonus in the game mechanics doesn't exist at this period of time. Yeah. So at least thematically in this game. But
all right, well, she shows up with her sword, and I think that's the only thing she has.
Okay. Good. You also have a spear, and you have Yeah. He says, do you have around a riding horse? Of course you don't. You will have to use mine for this. I think it's best that we start with riding hard. You need to see that you can bring this horse to full speed and keep up with me should the need come.
I will do my best. And she will, I guess, hop up on the horse and roll horsemanship.
Okay.
I failed.
You start to ride out into the Barrow Vale, and that's somewhere where, like, you know, as kids and stuff, you weren't supposed to play there, things like that. As you start to ride out in the Barrow Vale, your horse comes to a stop and starts to whinny and goes up on two. Give me a dex roll.
Dex roll! I can do that. I succeed on my dex roll.
You hold on. You stay a horse, and you see him start to jog your way effectively as your horse comes to a stop. It surprises you, I think, a little bit that your horse did come to a stop.
Could you say that bit again?
Yeah, like the way your horse came to a stop, I think that's alarming to you. Like, it's not something you'd be like, oh yeah, I expected that to happen. I think it's kind of like, oh, like the horse is responding like you'd expect it from superstitious folk, but maybe spiritual or worldly, to see if you have like a Mulder or Scully response to this. Like, are you like, you're like, whoa, this might be something big, or you try to explain it away as nothingness?
Alright, well, spiritual failed and worldly succeeded.
You can tick worldly and feel free to explain this away in the classic, oh, it must be something I'm seeing kind of means or manner.
Yeah, I mean, horses see things all the time. It could have been just like a squirrel that surprised you, or like a bird. Or, I mean, we could probably like look around the tree line if there's any like bandits or something bad out there, I guess.
Okay. So give me an awareness check. Or test.
Failed, just barely.
You're sitting there and you see him come to a stop a few feet away from you. Like, so your knight, Sir Governor. And like, he seems to be looking like at you, but kind of like right past you, and he's like, Aeronwy?
Yes?
Aeronwy?
Yes. Just kind of like gonna try to bring the horse around towards him.
Where did she go?
What do you mean, where did I go?
You feel the ground kind of like shake underneath you. It's like a thud.
Oh no, an earthquake.
Thud.
A thud.
Yeah. Your head, I think, naturally turns, and in the distance, you can see that the Barrow Vale, it's where it's normally like green and lush this time of year. It's filled with color, like vibrant color, and the sky's like pink, and you can see a very, very large person, someone you would only describe in any way other than a giant, but they're off in the distance. They're walking through the valley, like over by the mountains in the distance. You can see them. They must be 40 or 50 feet tall. They don't seem to pay you any notice as they continue kind of marching on.
No, I'm sure that there's a real logical explanation for this. I don't think there is.
I think true, you're probably really struggling with that. And as you think of that, you find yourself like, all of a sudden he reaches and like grabs the horse and grabs you. Not the giant, sorry. Sir Governor.
Yeah.
Sir Governor. He says, oh, there you are. Where did you go?
I was right here. Did you not see that? And she looks over where the giants were. Presumably they were gone.
And it's back to the lush green.
I saw there were giants over there. Did you not see them?
No.
All right. I guess she's gonna try to like move back to where she first like the threshold that she passed over, I guess, to try to like see like.
Yeah, you walk back towards it again. The horse will try and stop you as you get closer to it.
All right, well, screw this horse. I'm hopping off.
Okay, you're gonna walk forward, kind of towards where you felt like things changed.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get trapped in there the first time. Fingers crossed. Maybe I won't get trapped in there the second time.
You don't get trapped in there the second time because nothing changes.
Curses. She's kind of, yeah, I think she looks a little bit nuts at this point, kind of just like walking back and forth, like, no, that it was right. It was right here. The horse.
And you can tell like Sir Governor looks alarmed by this as well. He can't explain why all of a sudden you vanished in front of him. He just shakes his head.
Both having a day, huh? I guess back to training?
Yes, back to training. All right, so we're gonna go into like, hold on, let's change the music for this. This is important. Let me see here. Well, I probably don't have anything super upbeat. No, I don't. There we go. That works. I needed something that, sounded like it had some momentum to it. This is like a montage of you training over the next little bit. So I'm going to give you... I'm going to give you a test for some of the squire type activities. And if you pass it and you don't have a check already, you can apply a check to it. So you already have first aid, but go ahead and test it anyways.
Success.
I think this is more like him teaching you how to respond. So he like feigns falling off the horse, and then Aeronwy runs over and like slides to a kneel, and it's almost like timing. It's almost like timing, like how quickly you can respond, right?
Okay.
And then it's kind of contrasted with you also taking care of your dad's leg at night. Like there's like that.
Okay.
In it. I think. What else are we testing here? Test horsemanship again, please.
Horsemanship again. That's a success.
Okay. Go ahead and tick that.
So tick it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead and test Lance.
Lance. That's a success.
I think this one in particular, because you have such a high score, he's like impressed. So this is like he's set up like a straw, dummy to charge against, and you're very successful at doing that. And then I think the last piece will be like wooden swords. So you're training with him on the wooden sword. So this one you'll have to beat him to win.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got the 10.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So like he's taking it easy on you at first, and he starts to show skill, and then you get this like overwhelmed look for a second, and you actually manage to score like a hit on him, and he's impressed.
Yeah.
By it. Yeah. All right. So you can test sword or check sword as well. All right, and that's all you'll be getting there. So we're gonna go ahead and skip forward to like the closing moment. You have been hard at work for the last several months, and he's trained you all the way into the months that have gone cold now. Fall has hit, and you've been A little more, I guess. A little more. Actually, test. Go ahead and check spiritual. I know you checked worldly too, but there's no way you crossed over and didn't have some sense of.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of supersedes any like worldly assumptions. Like I clearly saw giants and stuff. Like that's weird.
Yeah, and you can also. What's your fairy lore at?
Fairy lore is at 2. I've been rolling folklore this whole time.
Yeah. Go ahead and test fairy lore just at 2, or just see if you.
Okay. It's a failure.
Okay. You won't be automatically gaining anything in there.
Yeah.
So, like by time you're done at night, he's working you out hard. You're working hard, and by the time you're done at night, you eat and then you just crash. You've never slept as hard as you have the last couple months.
Yeah.
In the winter, he's helped around the land, just sort of preparing for what'll be a long cold winter, so one doesn't starve or freeze to death. So he's helping with the wood and everything else.
Has Flory or like any of my other family members, but especially Flory, I trust her opinion. What is the vibe they've gotten from him? Like I'm basically checking to see like, are my suspicions founded or should I start like chilling out?
I think she would have told you maybe that like he has some kind of motive to be here, but as far as she can tell, like he's an honorable, like, and noble knight with true intentions. Like,
okay.
But definitely a motive.
Yeah. Okay. There's something up with the guy.
Yeah.
He's not in immediate danger or anything.
Yeah. It's about at this point it's almost like you're watching overhead, like you are yourself a bird, and it's like nighttime, a well moonlit, like full moon nighttime, right around winter solstice. In fact, it is winter solstice. You see a knight in chainmail. It is for sure Governor. Ride out, like sort of towards the edge of the Barrow Vale, and he just rides out on the horse and freezes there, like stands still. And then about a couple 100 feet away from him, you see another knight ride out. This knight has weird dark armor, and there's something strange about his steed, though you can't quite place it here.
Ooh.
You see the...
Okay, so am I saying this as Aeronwy, but like... Is Aeronwy seeing this from a bird's eye point of view, or are we like camera working this? Is Megan seeing this?
You as Aeronwy are seeing this, yes.
Interesting. Let's keep going.
You see kind of a low fog roll in, and all of a sudden you hear the sound of charging hoofs and the clank of armor, and then you wake up in a sweat at night.
Okay.
Awareness test.
Awareness test. Well, I don't care for that right after I wake up. That's a fumble. I don't see damn thing.
You hear a thud, like right outside your home.
Oh, I'm out. I'm out of there. Let's figure out what that's about.
Okay.
Is my sword with me? I'm gonna grab my sword if it's nearby.
Your sword? Okay.
Yeah.
By the time you reach the outside, just on your doorway, effectively, you see the slain body of your knight and his horse standing with a lot of anxiety beside him. The dark armored knight begins to ride slowly away. Like he's quite a far distance already. Like he was already leaving by the time you got off the door.
Ooh,
The
so I
thud
probably
you,
can't catch him, even if I wanted to.
that was the awareness check.
Oh.
So I can't give that to you with a fumble. No way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah, yikes! Yikes! Do you like dead? Can I roll my
No.
first aid?
Yeah, you can roll your first aid. Absolutely.
I trained for this. I fail.
It's okay. By the
Freak
time
out,
you get
man.
over and you flip open an advisor, you see that the looks like a wound, like a spear wound right through his neck. He's dead for sure. His
Okay.
cold eyes stare at you, and we're going to close with that.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
Messed up.
All right. So this has been the introductions for Gathering of Branches. We'll be moving into all three of our protagonists. We have Rebecca, Emily, and Megan joining us for the next Tuesday, I guess. We'll be starting this thing. Well, it's going to come up quickly,
Woo.
right? And this will all take place at the start of Barrowcrest Manor. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Take care.